Sweatshirt today. Can I rock this? Is this good?
Yeah,
We're
you look
live.
adorable.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Never Normal, episode 17. Is it 17? Do I have that right?
I think so.
So, those of you that are watching us, which is nobody right now, but you guys will watch us back later, we are coming up with a best of. So, Jackie and I are about to change your life in a few weeks. Keep it up. Something to look forward to in 2021. How are you, Jackie Monahan?
I'm great, actually. What's my hair doing?
I don't know. Let's enough about
I
me. What
like
do you
it.
think about
What?
me?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I if you're open to it, I feel like we didn't really flush out our topic today, but sometimes that's kind of beautiful, right? The more spontaneous we are.
Yeah.
But I was what do you think? Go. You sent me aliens. Wait, the topic's aliens. Sorry guys, Jackie sent me some topic options today and aliens is
Oh,
on the
Lou, can you
list.
read them?
Everybody
Because I
see?
think it's fun.
We can talk about aliens. In fact, I have very strong opinions about aliens.
Oh,
So let's
okay.
talk
Let's
about
do it.
aliens today. Let's do it. But I feel like I had a little moment of insensitivity with my roommate, and I feel like I need to clear the air because I'm having that like annoying old lady moment, which I dreaded when I was a kid. Okay, so anybody please clear the air that's like from either young or older perspective. Okay, so as you know, Jackie, I turned 40 in June, and I'm starting to have those conversations where I'm doing that like wait till you're 40 thing, and that used to annoy us. Remember back in the day when like people who were 40 were like, wait till you're this age and wait till you're that age and wait, and I'm like, oh, am I that old crotchety lady that's like doing that to young people now? Because I don't want to be that person. And I remember when I was like in my early 20s, I sometimes felt like people who were in their 40s or older, like my opinion just was irrelevant. Like my messaging just didn't matter because I was young and what the fuck do I know because I'm young, right? And so like I try to be super cognizant and not do that to young people because I don't want them to think that their opinion or their experience is not as important as mine, but like I keep catching myself accidentally doing it. And I think it comes from this sense of emergency. Like I feel like in my 20s like everything felt like an emergency, like everything felt like this impending, like I have to figure this out right now and I have to know everything about my future and I have to. So sometimes when a young person like kind of does that, I find myself being like, whoa, calm the fuck down. I get a little judgy. But then I also have that moment of, is it a defense mechanism? Because basically, like, I'm not going to mention any names, but I had a roommate recently be like, who's an actor, is like, it's just one of those things where like I worry about my future because like my biggest fear is like I don't want to be like 40 and unsuccessful. And I'm like, wrong audience, wrong fucking audience. Wrong audience. You know what I mean? I'm like, here I am as a working actor at 40, and I'm like, why would you bounce that off of me? Of all the people. And so I would love your opinion. Where is the balance between like letting young people share their experience and learning from their experience? Because I truly do believe you can learn from anybody at any age. And I also don't feel like just because you're 65, you're enlightened and wise, either. There are some people who are not.
Right. I feel like some young people have a lot. I learn a lot from young people, and I think older people are wiser, and there's just a balance. But I found myself, I swore myself that I would never say that I would never say when you're older, and I just said it to my friend. She she was complaining about her mother, and I was like, when you're older, you won't complain about her as much because she'll be older. And I was just like, ooh, like that's not I don't like saying that. I want to try to never say that again, saying when you're older, because or with time you won't, like, that will change. I don't know. I don't like doing that. I hear what you're saying.
I'm trying to be aware of it, but then there's also that like, I remember when I was 17 years old, my dad said what seemed like the most annoying thing in the world to me, but yet like it resonates for me now. Um, he said the reason why young people get annoyed with old people is because I've been 17, but you've never been 40. And I was like,
Ooh, I
I
like
hate you,
that.
Dad. But if you think about it, like there's something true about that. As an older person, we've
Definitely.
been that younger age, so we have a perspective that you don't have. But yet, it doesn't mean that each person doesn't uniquely have their own perspective. Like, just because you're 20 doesn't mean there's a default experience of what 20 looks like for each person, you know?
Right, because things are different in different generations. But also, if I love that, I've never heard that before. Like, I know what it's like to be 17, but you don't know what it's like to be 40. But we also know what it was like to be dismissed because we were young.
Right. That's
So
what I'm
we
saying
have,
is we have that perspective in
yeah,
so many ways. So I try to be sensitive to it because there's a lot of wisdom I had at 21 that partly it keeps me young at 40 because I think, wow, I'm still that same person. A lot of my thinking that when I was a teenager, like a lot of my artistic impulses, I remember being in middle school and those impulses have not changed at 40, you know? So like I try to respect that. Like a lot of their instincts aren't convoluted by the whole like hardened, I'm older, life gets difficult thing. Like there's something about the innocence of youth, that playfulness where there's all that hope that's still happening. You know, they haven't been through the endurance of life yet, but like, but then there are other times where I've met young people who've had dealt with crap I've never dealt with. Parents have died. Like we still have unique experiences that are not isolated to age, you know?
yeah.
So,
I think the
um,
most important thing is to stay away from cynicism. I think
yeah, that's
cynicism is
really
like a
good advice.
killer to keep
Yeah, that's
hope.
a really good advice.
Yeah. Cynicism is death. Once you're once you're too
Because
cynical,
then that's when you become that crotchety old person that like hates
yeah,
everything. Yeah.
you
But
don't
then
want to
I
become
also
that
feel like
person. Yeah.
but I also feel like there's also an opportunity for sensitivity. Like, okay, for example, there are certain things that are unique to age. Like when I think about parenting, the fact is I'm 40. So a 20-year-old's desire, they're pondering a parenting one day. It is going to be different than somebody like me whose eggs are fucking raisins now. Okay? You know what I'm saying? Like it just is different. Like age actually really is a factor really in the reproduction thing, you know? So it's like some
Well,
stuff
I think that things are different now. People that are like 47 can have children now.
It's
But
true, but I think the natural stress, like I think that dialogue that happens for somebody who's over 40 that's thinking about is going to be different, no matter how much life experience than the dialogue that a 20-year-old has about contemplating having a baby. And you know, there's that biological imperative to our seed. Some people don't have it. But like, is there going to be another person on the planet that's half my DNA? Like all of that conversation, I think, not that I'm necessarily personally, Renee, having that crisis, but I do think there are things that are unique to age, that it doesn't matter what kind of life you've lived, it
right,
is unique to milestones of age,
right.
right?
Right. But you and I don't want to have children, so it's not affect us. But we both have. I went through a lot of, do I want to have children? Do I not want to have? The best advice I got was from a friend that had children, and she was like, if you doubt that you want to have children at all, don't have them, because like, jump on that, because it's,
Yeah,
she's
ride
like,
that train.
she loves her kids, but she was just like, it's so much. But it's funny that we're talking about this because I watched The Crown. Well, I did take a week off TV, so I want to.
How'd that go? I wanted to ask you.
It was amazing. I really did a lot. It was good. I got a lot done. And I felt like my dreams were better because they weren't just like from TV, if that makes sense. But
Yeah.
okay, but before that, I watched The Crown, and I just can't stop laughing thinking about, because they have Princess Diana, like poor me, like she's 19 years old, stuck in the castle all by herself. Like, but if she was 40, stuck in the castle, she would be like, thank you.
Right.
Like 20 stuck in the castle by yourself. You're like, oh my God, my life. Like, I want to be out doing stuff. I want to live my life, you know? But if you're 40 and all of a sudden you're in a castle by yourself, and you're like, nobody's coming near me. Yay!
Yeah, you're like, I get a break. This is
Yeah.
great. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. But like, that is really funny.
Yeah. So it's so different with 20, like your life is different. And I never really thought of that until I saw that with Princess Diana. Like, Even the pandemic, if I was 20 in this pandemic, I would be losing my mind.
Yeah, to have that be like your first, like not, like you're an adult, because there are a lot of kids that like live in this community that like they just moved to LA and they're beginning their adult lives and then like society shut down. So it's like for that to be their first experience of adulthood is like, yeah, that's sort of crazy. You're like, damn, I wouldn't want that to be like my lead in to
Yeah,
adulthood either. Like I've had so many ebbs and flows in the last 20 years that
me
it's like,
too.
oh, I'll sit in an apartment for 6 months. Fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I
But
almost, I almost feel guilty about it, but I'm not.
yeah, it's so funny. Although I have to say that like so many people's lives have slowed down this year and mine has not, but not in a bad. I mean, it has slowed down to when I lived in New York because my expenses were so ridiculous. I had two survival jobs and I was a nanny. I mean, and I nannying was one of my survival jobs. Sorry, we're just talking about kids. And I was pursuing my career, and it was like it just was too much. It was like round the clock. So now I have one survival job and one career, and so I have like half the output. But I'm pretty busy. Like, and so many people are going stir crazy, and I almost feel like I can't talk about it because I'm like, am I the only one who pretty much has not slowed down this year?
Right. I've slowed down as in I don't have to dart from place to place where you're still darting, but you're not darting half as much.
I'm not darting half as much, but yeah, I still go to work. Like my Starbucks is still, I'm still physically
Yeah.
leaving
Where
for work every
where
day.
that because I used to teach at West Side Comedy Theater. So now I teach online. So that my body is more still but I still exercise, but I'm still busy from morning to night. I've never ever been bored in my life. Like part of like what drives me crazy, and I wonder if it's alcoholism. I don't know that I like,
Possibly.
not a day goes by that I'm not furious that I can't read every book that I've ever wanted to read, that I can't watch every TV show, I can't watch every movie, I can't write everything that I want to write, I can't do everything I want to do. Like, I have to like accept it every day. Like, okay, Jackie, like just like take today as it comes. Like, because I could spend, I've never been bored and I never will be bored. There's just too much going
Which
on.
I'm so grateful for. Like I know a lot of people that are going stir crazy
I
and
can't fathom
so
it. I can't fathom it. And at the beginning of the lockdown, the first one in March, I was like, oh my God, I wonder if I'll be bored. I like, because I've just never been bored. And I was scared almost that to get bored, that I would be like, oh my God, because I hear it's terrible. But
Mhm.
yeah, no, still not bored. I can't fathom it. I can't even fathom it.
But I feel like that's also because we're just passionate about life in general. Because I feel the same way. Like I've not experienced boredom. In fact, when you talk about alcoholism, that is my biggest fear. I don't worry about like someone dying or having some type of like atrocity in my life or a moment of celebration. Like my fear of relapse comes from boredom. I'm like, if I get bored, that would be the number one reason why I would go out and use is
Right.
boredom. It's like that is the scariest thing for me. And I think, but then I also realize there's got to be I have to become more proficient at stillness because when I do have a day off, like I feel it. Like I don't very frequently let myself have a day of rest.
Me
And if
neither.
I do, I feel really guilty where I'm like, what am I doing? And I'm thinking like when I actually do allow myself that, but it's like pulling teeth to let myself just like
Same.
watch TV for a day because it's not what I do. And
Same.
I forget that like that actually it's like plugging back in. Like it's
Yeah.
when you can do anything in excess, right? We know this as alcoholics, but like sometimes sitting in front of TV all day like is the thing that plugs you back in, and I don't let myself do it, and
I
then I
can't.
get back to work and regret it.
Yeah, same. I get it. I get it. I'm the same way. Like, but we went to the beach and did we go in the water?
I think we did. Yeah, we did.
We did that. But that was like just an hour, right? But
Totally.
that's how I feel now. Like I carve out an hour here and there. But a whole day to do nothing, I can't do it. That's not fun for me.
I feel the same way. Sometimes it's really hard. Although it was one of the things that I really like. See, this is not doing nothing, but as far as like self care, when I was training for a triathlon, my Saturdays were always like my long training day. But so I would get up at 5, and because I would swim, bike, and run, I would do all three disciplines on Saturdays. During the week, it was like I would run one day, bike one day, swim. I didn't do all three every single day, you know. But because of that, but by noon, I was done. I was always done with like my long training, and I felt really good. Like my self-care was good. Like I
Yeah.
could eat a lot of food because I just worked out for like 6 hours, and then I would chill and just relax. The rest of Saturdays, I would do nothing. I did a whole lot of sitting around. I never filled it with anything. In all the years I would train, like that's what every Saturday looked like for me.
That's
And
nice.
it was beautiful. And it was the only time in my life where I really allowed myself what felt like a day of rest, but I feel like I have to exert myself beyond what other human beings do in a lifetime in order
Same.
for me to feel good about that state of rest.
Yeah, same. When I hear comics saying like they're bored that they only work 1 hour a week, I'm like, what do you do? How does that
Yeah, like
happen?
what?
Like that's not me at all. I want that, but I would hate it.
Yeah.
But
I know there's like,
it is squeezing in more zoned out meditation time or, like in the, what's it called? In the, artist way, like the date
oh
with,
yeah, the artist date where you like go out on a date by yourself. I did that book and I loved it.
yeah.
I've done the artist way twice, and I've never read back my morning pages ever. I've never revisited them. You know how you're supposed to go 8 weeks and you don't look at them, and then after 8 weeks you go back and read them. And I'm like so concerned that I'm gonna see that I'm a freak that I've never gone back and actually read my morning
Go, but
pages.
I'm giving you that homework.
I should do it.
You know where they are?
Yep. Well,
Go,
this last batch that I did in quarantine, because I did do it here in March again, I did it on my computer. I didn't. It was 3 typing pages, not physically written pages.
all right, so
So
you have to read it. Can you read it and we'll talk about it next week?
okay. All right. Good assignment. Good
I
assignment.
kind of I write for 5 hours a day with my writing partner, and so we do like automatic writing and then read it to each other. So I kind of do it every day, but I have to read it to her on top
That's
of it.
great. I still journal every day. Like I don't call it morning pages anymore, and I use it as a flushing, but it's not always morning pages because like when I open my store and I go to work at 4 in the morning, I don't. Like I come home, I take a nap, then when I wake up, I write. So it's really my
Oh,
afternoon pages. But I do journal for at least 3, and I stick with that 3 pages format. I just type for 3 pages. And then when I'm done, I just save it and I never revisit it. And it's kind of like a just vomiting of energy for me. I don't,
right. Which you could keep it as that, but I feel like because you're bringing it up, there is a thing to read it that maybe you're not doing the whole thing.
I think you're right because when I look back like at my recovery and step work, like that's what's so special about step work is that you
Right.
put pen to paper and you actually, as long as stuff stays in your head, you can sometimes negotiate with yourself or you won't remember something entirely. Like
Right.
your memory won't serve you the way, like when you write it down, oh my God, like my relationship inventory that I first did, when I went back and read journal entries, I was like, oh my God, you might as well just delete the woman's name, just put blank. It's the same fucking story over and over and over again. Like every time I would write. And then it made me realize that clearly I'm the constant in the equation because like literally the girl's name was not relevant. It was the same story for like a decade. And I was like, Renee, who are you? But that's what happened.
Yeah, so I want to see like what you learned from it, from reading it.
Let's definitely do it. It's even interesting just having anything documented in general, like going back to our Never Normal episodes as for
Right.
those who just joined us. Jackie and I are coming up with like a best of, and so like we have to actually go back and watch our own content. And for some of our conversations have been really great, and it's like I don't remember saying that, and so all of
Yeah.
that it makes you wonder like what am I missing by not documenting stuff, you know,
Right.
or
Yeah, it's
what can
fun
I
that we
learn.
do this. Because yeah, going back and watching it, I'm just like, oh my God, it's so funny and thought provoking and good. We both like came together with something beautiful. Like I loved it. I love
Yeah,
watching them.
And then some of it's like goofy, but also silly and profound, and makes you realize like this is where comedy comes from. Like in our first episode, when we're talking about like pooping when someone's in the shower and how rude it is, like it's actually kind of hilarious and bizarrely profound, to be like, because this is stuff that people think about. Like we all poop every single day, and we have to be aware of the people who are closest to us when we're doing it, And
I just watched that too, and you were funny. You were like peppermint and fecal.
We should do like a thing in one of our episodes where we're like words we never thought we'd say and just isolate the words, like palindrome, fecal matter, like just a random list of like words we've said in 17 episodes. Oh my God, Julie Heater's here. I have to show her comment. Julie, I do remember, Julie very generously donated to my first special that I made. I will never forget you. I met her on Olivia Cruz's when I was a comic there, and I was self-producing my first album that ultimately Uproar then helped me make. But it was very much the conduit to me like producing my own content, and Julie Heater was a huge contributor to that. So thank you for being here, girl. Hey, girl. Hi. How are you?
Hi, Julie.
Julie, are you or your wife the chiropractor? I forget. You're a chiropractor, right? Am I right? Am I remembering that correctly? One of you is a chiropractor? No?
Renee and I both need an adjustment.
Totally. I need an adjustment.
I do too. We need adjustments. I was born with one less disc.
You were born with one less disc? That's crazy. Do tell. How'd you figure that out?
Oh, because I'm an alien.
Oh my God, we should talk about that.
Because I have a herniated torn disc, and then they to find that out, they also found out everybody has 5, I have 4, and one's herniated and torn.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Really help us, our backs. But now that I'm saying it, I like maybe it's because I'm an alien. Maybe aliens only have 4.
We are aliens. Okay, this is a great segue to this conversation because I actually recently, this is the other great thing about quarantine is all of a sudden you start talking about shit you didn't think you would talk about. Can we just talk about my gray hair over here that
I like it.
I'm rocking it, okay?
Yeah.
I'm rocking it. I'm embracing it. I just happen to notice it. But so have you ever read the book Sphere?
No.
They made it into a bad movie. I think Sharon Stone was in it, but the reason why the movie itself is not horrible, but they take out so much of the book that it's like just not the same story. So it's not that it's a horrible movie. It's just not like, it just has the same name. It's weird, but it talks about aliens and basically like part of like the anthropomorphic problem. And this is also addressed in Daniel Quinn's Ishmael. Have you ever read this book? Okay, 2 of my favorite books, and it speaks a lot about like this concept of evolution and aliens and whatever in both of them. But in Sphere, they talk about how our concept of the alien, the skinny guy with the big gray head and the big eyes and the no nose, and that's actually our subconscious perception of the human evolution. And if you think about it, like and so this book talks about it, but it's really, really sort of profound. So basically the concept is like, as aliens, like our melanin in our skin has to do with like, being out in the sun and getting vitamin D, and that's what kind of gives us our skin tone, right? Our response. So as we evolve, we're more addicted to our computers, so we stay indoors with artificial lighting. So as we continue to reproduce, our skin would get really gray. And because our survival mechanism really is our aptitude, it's our brains begin to grow. But because we're typing on computers, our phalanges will get really, really, really long, right? So then our fingers become super long, and like our brains become really big. Yeah. And then because we don't need our opposable thumbs, and then the cones and rods of our eyes, like those big black eyes where we don't have corneas anymore, is because that's what allows us to focus in and out of artificial light. If we're staring at computers, we would lose the corneas of our eyes, and our eyes would become really big. And then our noses are not for breathing. Our nostrils are for breathing. Our noses are for balance so that we can walk, right? Like,
what?
That's amazing. If you think about it, the actual structure of the nose is what allows our eyes to not become crossed and allows us to be balanced when we walk. We don't fall over. So our noses are not for breathing, our nostrils are. So if you look at the alien, because we're no longer walking around and we're being active, we lose the actual nose itself and we just have nostrils in our faces so that we still have to breathe, but we don't need to like walk, right? And then our toes get really small and our legs get really small because our body, we're no longer using our physicality. So our brains and our heads become huge. Our bodies become physically shriveled and small. And because everything is like transitioning technology, there's less like interaction. So they believe like our genitalia would shrink, and like this whole concept of what you like, the physical alien it's actually human beings subconsciously thinking about our own evolution.
Wow.
This movie talks about. Kind of nuts. But if you think about it, it weirdly all makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're not actually thinking about aliens. We're just thinking about human beings and like.
Wow. Wow.
Kind of neat, right?
Yeah.
I know. When first time I wrapped my brain around that, I was like, oh my God.
So
it really does make sense. But the book Ishmael, it doesn't speak as much about aliens, but it talks about that, about the anthropomorphic problem of how we interpret life, because, you know, anthropomorphic meaning like our human perspective. And so Daniel who, Ishmael is the monk, is the gorilla. It's this like speaking gorilla. And then there's a boy, and the gorilla is explaining to the boy the concept of evolution. And he's like, well, no, you know, humans are the most advanced species, blah, 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 blah. And so Ishmael is like, okay, let me explain to you evolution from a caterpillar's perspective. So the caterpillar is talking to the caterpillar son. He's like, this is evolution. So there was like primordial soup and all these molecules came together in space, and then they collided, and then we had our first like amoeba, we had our first species, and then that fell into the water, and then in the water we like became fish, and then we got legs and became amphibians and walked under the ground, and then we became a caterpillar. And that's the end of evolution. And then he just stops. Look, and you're like, wait, what? And he's like, no, that's the story of evolution from the perspective of caterpillar. And they're like, that's what's wrong with human beings. Our entire storytelling ends with us because we can only think as us. So that's, do you see what I'm saying? Like our concept, we have like, there's a whole nother level of evolution that we can't even imagine. Like that there's so many other animals in nature because their survival mechanisms isn't their aptitude, and they have other survival mechanisms, that evolution from a different animal's perspective is completely different, and that the concept of the alien is really just human evolution, but not evolution of life. Like life evolution and human evolution are almost two separate things that live.
I love it. Do you believe that there are aliens?
I believe that I don't know if I believe that there are aliens like I've just described, because I do sort of believe that like is us in 5,000 years, you know, but belief is strong, because I believe that a belief is something that like you hold on to it. It's more of a theory, I think is safer for me to say. Like, I think it's a sensible theory. So, but do I believe that there are beings outside of us on Earth? I think there is.
Yay! Yeah, I think there is too. And I also, I believe that there are different types of higher life forms, and there are the grays, like you described, and they are the one. What happened to them is what you're describing. They really did almost destroy their planet, and they became not sexual, and they had to come take our DNA to reproduce, and that was all the probing. But they're not allowed to do it anymore because the other galactic people that are more beautiful and kept their humanity, or like their love force, stopped them from doing that to us. Anyway, but
I'm on board. Like, I don't not think that that's true. Like, if an alien like came down tomorrow and was like, Renee, by the way, this is how it went, like, I would buy it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But this is the stuff that I've learned. And also that in the year 2023 we're going to have full contact. But do you know that during all this time, like they're like pandemic, Trump, they threw in like the aliens are real, but nobody really talked about it.
I didn't notice
Where
that.
I'm just like, hey,
Trump distracted me.
like this is so much better than everything.
That is really funny. I
Like
can't wait
it's
till
so
that
much
man becomes
better. But they
president.
also said that they're hybrid aliens that are here now that don't know that they're aliens. And one sign you might be an alien is wide set eyes.
Jackie, are you an alien? I would love it if you were. You'd be
Who
my
was
first
called an
alien
owl all
crush.
through high school? Who? Also, I just read if you have a minus or negative blood type, you might be an alien. And I have a negative. I have A negative.
Oh my God, I want to find out if you're an alien.
I
I would
know, me
love it.
too. I'm dying. But also they said if you like are obsessed with the sky, like I'm completely obsessed with the sky. I'm just like every day I'm just like night or day. I'm just like the sky's better than everything. Anyway, but yeah. Also I was on a spaceship and they told me, so
Oh my God, I love it. I love how you just throw that out there. You're like, yeah, I
yeah.
was in a spaceship.
But yeah, I believe in aliens, and I'm just excited that yeah, I think we're gonna find out that they're real, and I think they're waiting for us to stop moving so fast like we're doing, and so that and for us to get rid of all our racism and stuff and get along with each other so that we don't attack them when they come. And
It
the
could
word
totally be possible.
for us to have spiritual awakenings. More of us have to have a spiritual awakening before they're going to do full contact, which is supposed to be in 2023, so that we will.
Well,
And
coronavirus may be a good conduit to that. Although, can I just tell you, I'm also witnessing some intense amount of fucking privilege this coronavirus thing. Like, I think a lot of our people are becoming more enlightened in this time, but people also are becoming more selfish. And I
yeah,
think it's almost during this second bout with the lockdown, I'm experiencing it at work. Like the level of non-compliance at my Starbucks daily has intensified. And I think partly it's because people are sick of it. And the reason why I say privilege is because to me personally, the definition of privilege is not caring or making a choice about something because it doesn't directly affect you, because you don't need to care about it, right?
right.
And it has to do, even white privilege is the same thing. Like you don't have to be cognizant of the black plight because you're not black. But if you like actually have empathy and you care, do you know what I'm saying? You'll look outside of yourself. Like that is the being, basically having the luxury to overlook something because it doesn't affect you is privilege.
Yeah,
A lot of us, like as women, like we have to look at shit because we don't have that, and so
yeah,
there's a lot of times like this defiance where people will argue, well, it doesn't affect me, or I have the, my husband's not at work, or this and that, or whatever. And they're like, I don't have to wear my face mask because I don't feel like I'm in jeopardy of coronavirus. And it's like, what the fuck? Like sometimes there's a lot I don't understand. There's not necessarily I honestly, like my sister works on the front lines in a hospital. She's seen people die of this thing, and it's more of I wear a face mask even out of my lack of knowing. It's purely out of respect for 300. Like if you do it for no other reason than 300,000 Americans have died, not thinking about the countless people around the world, just do it out of courtesy. Out of
yeah,
courtesy for those families, out of respect. Consider it like you're waving a flag in a way, like I honor you, I'm going to wear a face mask. Like if that is the only reason that you do it, whether
yeah.
you believe you're going to get it or not, just wear a fucking
Or to
face
make
mask.
another person feel safe. Like
Yeah.
why are you like and it doesn't make sense to me. I have a friend in Australia that I talk to and nobody would not wear a mask. Like everybody obeys the rules. Nobody's trying to be defiant. It's so strange to me why here everybody's doing that. It doesn't make sense to me.
There's something, I don't know that I have a definitive answer for this, but there's something about the American experience. There's a reason why other countries have curbed this, and it's not Yes, I think it is in large part our government, but it also it's the people. Like, right? We are a democracy. Like, there's a reason fucking Trump became president. Like, there's a level, like some of that defiance is partnered with that entitled thing. Like, there's something about this American defiance that I'm witnessing from an observational perspective. I don't entirely know how to wrap my brain around it yet, so I don't want to give like a really strong position about it, but there's something unique about an American defiance toward
There really
this.
is. And what's interesting is it's not always the privileged that are doing it.
Yeah.
It's like really uneducated people that, I mean, they might have white privilege though.
Yeah, I don't mean like monetary privilege. Because in
Yeah,
fact, I think a lot of people that have a lot of money are the ones that are being the most compliant. You know what I
right,
mean? So I don't mean it like that. I mean more like that whole thing of the luxury of looking over something because you don't think it affects you. You know what I mean?
right.
Like, as a human being, the human condition affects you. Like, if you don't operate from your privileged perspective, you have an empathetic perspective to be like, okay, this is not. That's why, like, I don't claim that I know everything, but I wear it out of acceptance of the fact that I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like that
Yeah,
kind of thing. Like, it's kind of like the same reason for me. Like, the first time I went to a Black Lives Matter rally, I think it was important for there to be an allied presence. But I realized, like, this is not my platform. This is where I shut the fuck up and I sit here and I
right,
support. But this is not where anybody needs to hear my white voice. Do you know what I'm saying?
right,
Like,
right.
and it's that thing where you can acknowledge your privilege doesn't make you bad. It just means, like, knowing when it's your platform, when you're supposed to speak up and when not. And I'm not saying
Right.
I'm a master. I've had moments where I've said something ignorant on accident, you know what I mean? And so, but it's that being teachable. That's the thing. Like, don't be defiant and just be a dick. Like, that's
It's,
the whole point. I wear a face
yeah,
mask because I don't know if I could catch it. I heard somebody say the other day, people who are getting the experimental vaccine could expose us. And, like, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. But there's a part of me that's like, oh, that's a little scary. Let me look it up. Or let me just, all of a sudden I was like really, really cautious of my face mask that day around this person who
yeah,
had the vaccine. Cause I'm like, that's curious. So it's that thing where I'm like, I don't know. I
right.
don't know what that means. So I'm just going to wear the face mask just in case I'm wrong.
Yeah, and for somebody to go around saying that they know,
Yeah.
when because nobody knows, like just wear the mask, just wear it. Like it's just like I told you, like the story of the canoe. The guy was like, "Oh, I'm gonna wait for God's gonna save me," and the canoe comes by,
Yes,
and,
yes,
and
yes.
he dies, and he's like, I thought you were gonna save me." And God's like, "I sent the canoe. Like the mask is the canoe. Wear the fucking mask."
Yes. That is the best messaging I could. You did it. You nailed it, girl.
Yeah,
Wear the fucking canoe. No, wear the
yeah.
mask.
Wear the canoe. Put the
Wear
canoe.
the canoe.
Wear the canoe. Oh my God, I saw an
Wear the
awesome
canoe.
mask. I saw an awesome mask where it goes like this
The
when you
mask is
open
out.
your mouth. Like it
The
you know what I
mask
mean?
expands, but doesn't uncover their mouth.
No.
That's
Well,
amazing.
it looks
People
like
have
a
gotten.
bead.
It is weird though when people are wearing masks and they come into my store and I'm like, oh my God, that's an amazing face mask. People are starting to like have their face masks match their clothing. And I'm like, it is a bizarre world to like, at
Oh yeah.
least 4 or 5 times a day, that's a compliment I give to people. And I'm like, remember when that wasn't a compliment that you ever gave anybody ever? Like,
It's such a bizarro time.
I even watch, like, I've caught myself watching a few things on TV where, like, people are in, like, large crowds without face masks. And I'm like, this is not even a realistic movie. It's clearly a fantasy. You know what I mean? Because people being in close proximity without masks on, I'm like, this is not even, like, at a concert in a film. And I'm like, clearly this is an old film. And I'm like, it's from, like, last year. And I'm like, fuck. Are we going to be that people where we look back at our film and, like, oh, that's not even what society's like. Like, are we
I
ever gonna
hope
get back to this
not.
space?
I hope we go back to normal soon. Not soon, but I hope it goes back to the way it was, but whatever. What are we
In
gonna
that
do?
regard, yeah, like I want to go to concerts and I want people to come to our comedy shows, and like
Yeah,
I don't want us to always have to be at 25% capacity in everything that we do, but
yeah.
I think once the vaccine comes out, that's going to be better. But I also feel like any new vaccine in the first year of its introduction is still, it's still an assimilation
Oh
process,
God,
right?
are
To
you gonna
any
take
new
it?
vaccine. So
Are you gonna
I
take
don't,
it?
what is it?
Are you taking the vaccine?
God, I don't know. I'm still contemplating it because people told me 1,000 times, you take the flu shot, you're not going to get the flu. And can I just tell you, I'm not saying I've necessarily gotten the flu, but every single year as a nanny, when I have taken the flu shot, I get so fucking sick the next 3 or 4 days. And every year people tell me that's not going to happen. And every year it does. And I stopped taking the flu vaccine because I get laid out sick. And then I have to take that, whatever that flu prescription is. And I'm like, I'm so sick of people telling me that this isn't going to happen. And like,
Yeah, you
I've
gotta
also had
go
that
with your
experience.
body.
And like shingles and chickenpox too. I've had shingles I'm 40. I've had shingles 3 times in my adult life when doctors, medical professionals have said, you've had chickenpox as a kid, you're not going to get shingles, you take good care of yourself, and then I get shingles. And then like the
How
first
do
time I
you
got
get
shingles,
shingles?
well, the first time I got it was in my active addiction, and I don't entirely know like how I got it or what I was exposed to because I was doing all kinds of crazy shit. But I got shingles at 24, at 31, and 33. So
Jesus.
3 times in my adult life. And I had chickenpox as a kid and bad. So I'm like, well, my last batch of shingles was pretty bad, but like I don't understand. And people keep telling me it's not a thing that's going to happen. Like people with medical degrees.
Is shingles
So
contagious?
it is. It's the chickenpox virus. It's just they call it shingles because it kind of visually it looks like shingles on your back, and as an adult, it usually attacks columns of nerve endings as opposed to as a kid it just attacks all your nerve endings, so you look like polka dotted. And so, but it's the same. It's herpes zoster, which is not the same thing as genital herpes, but it is a derivative of, or it's a type of herpes. It's called herpes zoster. And it's the exact same illness as chickenpox. It's just more
Wow.
painful and manifests itself differently. You know what it's like? Not to sound morbid and horrible. I didn't even realize we were 40 minutes in. But the best way to describe it, because I had to be like naked for like a month. And they're like, why? Like I couldn't even put a sheet against my skin. I honestly, like, it was so uncomfortable. I just to crank up the heat in my house because anything against my skin felt like raw. It was like I had raw flesh. And you know what it's like? It's when like you have a blister on the back of your foot and it pops and then you have to walk around for the rest of the day with that blister. That's what shingles feels like all over your body. Imagine that. Like
How do
that is
you
the best way
get
to
it?
describe
How do
it.
you get it?
I mean, I don't know exactly how I got it. I think probably from the kid that I was nannying for at the time because they had
Oh,
had chicken pox. But why I got shingles? Because an adult can also get chicken pox and not the shingles version of it. So I feel like I shouldn't make a proclamation about the distinction between why you get shingles versus chicken pox as an adult because I don't know definitively,
yeah.
but I do know that it stays dormant in your spinal column so that you can like if you get in a car accident, let's say, and like hurt your spine, you can get shingles again because it can like it stays in your body for a lifetime once you have it. Like it's still in my spinal column forever and always. Yeah, I know it's kind of jacked up. So like I think that's why I got it multiple times after I initially got shingles, but
Is it
it is
hereditary? Have your sisters had shingles?
I don't think anybody else in my family has had shingles that I know of. I know my sisters had chicken pox when we were munchkins, but not I don't think my sisters have had shingles. I don't even know if my parents have had shingles. I don't think so. I don't
Hmm.
even know if my grandparents had shingles. Well, all of my grandparents are deceased on both my maternal and paternal side, but
All my grandparents have Parkinson's.
really?
No.
Oh, you're crazy. I
I
love
don't
you
know
so much. I
why.
love the
That's not.
discrimination in your voice.
You can make it into a Christmas carol. Shingling,
Shingling,
hear them ringing.
ringling. I can't put a sheet on my raw skin.
Do old people get shingles?
Yeah, usually it's for people over the age of 50.
I'm gonna
That's why it was
I
hilarious
don't
when I got into 24.
want them.
I
Do
know.
some people never get them?
Some people never get them.
Okay.
But it's so weird. I've had a lot of weird old people like illnesses young, and I don't know why that is, but yet I'm super healthy and I
You're
have like,
super healthy.
I know I'm like thin and active, and even with a spinal injury, like I still use the elliptical and I swim and whatever. Like
Yeah.
I've not, I it's not that I don't believe my diagnosis, but I don't believe like the prognosis of like now you have a spinal injury and you're going to be sick forever. And like, I don't buy that story, but I also feel like I have to believe it to a degree in order to get into self-care. Like it is true
Right.
when I go nuts and I start like running 15 miles again, like I can't even bend at the waist. I'm nauseous. And I'm like, okay, where's the line of being in denial and then also like self-care? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
Like
that's where we have to live. I love that because that is where we have to live. We have to live in that. It's all balance. I get mad when I hear the word, but it
and
is.
sometimes that surrender is like that acceptance isn't defeatist. It's like the best way I could describe it. My nephew, I have a nephew with a disability, and like he has DiGeorge syndrome, which is like a deletion on the 22nd chromosome. It has a hard time producing growth hormone. It's very complicated, but at any rate, he hasn't been able to have the same like he can't do the same level of physical exercise because of the strain on his heart. And for many years, he had a feeding tube. And so he had to get a lot of his calories through his stomach and not. So at any rate, he had an older brother that could be super, super, super active. And he wasn't able to be as physically active. And we're like, how do we teach him that he can still be and do all these things that he wants to be, but like you can't just let him go run around with a football because his heart will explode and he will die. You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you get him to honor his physical limitations but yet not feel defeated that he can't do something else?
Yeah.
And so like he's an incredible golfer. He has his dexterity is so instead of like playing football, like he plays mini golf and he plays baseball, and like he has found a way to still nurture his like the sports, his inclination to play sports. It's just it can't be tackle football. You know what I'm saying? And so like it's that kind of thing where we don't sometimes that's the most courageous thing. The fact that he can't play tackle football and he had to think outside of the box, but yet can still live the dream of wanting to be an athletic person.
Right.
Is the same thing that like I try to do with my spinal injury. Like, where's the line between me saying like I can overcome this and still do extraordinary things physically, but also surrender to the fact that I may not be able to run 20 miles tomorrow because the impact on my spine could cripple me. So like,
yeah,
maybe I have to walk that portion of the triathlon now, or, like, does that make me more courageous to actually surrender to the limitation of it without?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Think about that. We are 45 minutes in. Can you believe this?
I love you, you little angel.
I love you, you little angel. So let's schedule another time on our own. I'm like 2 or 3 episodes in. By the way, that time stamping takes forever, but it's also super fun. I just watch you though. I
think we did one of the same episodes. I can't find the episode that I did the other time with the puppy. It's so weird.
Did we not record it? If we have any gaps, I do notice that we have like episode 1, then episode 3, but then I think I called this episode 17 and maybe we've only done 16. Because
there's an episode that doesn't have a number on it, but I know what we're wearing, so I know which one it is. Oh, I've been time stamping too, so it's good.
We have to do a special Christmas episode too.
Yes.
Let's ponder.
Yes.
Fun. I love you. Thank you for everybody who joined us and who will join us later too. Have you noticed that people circle back later? So
yeah.
You guys don't watch it live. I get it, because maybe you're at work, because some of us are still at work.
What? Don't do it. What?
Bye. I love you, Jackie.
I love you.
Julie, it was so incredibly good to see you.
Julie, crap my backs.
Wait, what did you say? Really wish my lady could work on you. I wish she could work on me too. For those of you who just joined, she's a chiropractor. That sounds weird. With no context, Julie, that could sound bad.
I wish my girlfriend could work on you.
I wish
Let
my
my
lady could work
girlfriend
on
work
you.
on me.
We should just screenshot that comment, and
Yeah,
this will be our new.
yeah.
Do you want your lady to work on Renee? Well, then watch Never Normal.
I
Oh, I just
screenshotted
made
them.
myself laugh. All right, so visit us next week. We'll be here Tuesdays at 3 p.m. This week it was Wednesdays at 3 p.m. because life happened. You hear my creaky chair? Jackie, I love you like a fat kid loves cake.
Yum! I love you too.
All right, I'll see you next week.
I love you like I love aliens.
I'm so glad you are an alien. I can't wait. If you're an alien and you like go way off into space, will you take me with you?
I will if you want to go.
Please do it. My eyes are not as offset as you. I don't know if I could pass.
But you never
What
know.
about my
Never
gray hair?
normal. Woohoo! Aliens.
Aliens. Aliens. Bye
Aliens.
everybody. See you next week.
We are aliens.